According to the U.S. Department of the Treasury, the national debt broke records Friday when the total climbed over $19 trillion.
That's a $56,000 burden for each of us.
President Obama is set to unveil a $4 trillion budget for 2016.
Wisconsin U.S. Senator Ron Johnson says that we could add $126 trillion in new debt over the next 30 years.
You're looking at an unemployment rate around 23%.
I have to feed my family, and I think a lot of people around the United States feel the same way.
And right now I live in a country where the government does whatever it wants to do.
You don't hear too many elected officials talking about it because if they actually describe that harsh reality, we have to do something about it, and that's not real popular.
The Texas Nationalist Movement is in the middle of a cross-state campaign tonight to push for independence, and
they believe Texas could make it on its own.
Texans are tired of answering to bureaucrats in D.C. that they didn't elect.
They want to take Texas back.
We'd be the 46th largest country in the world, the 17th leading oil producer, the 15th largest economy. We've got our own Air Force. They build F-16s in Fort Worth. Wonder what Sam Houston would think.
Independence. I like that.
These folks think Texas' sunniest days are ahead.
Recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Roy.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentleman from Ohio for yielding. 185 years ago today in San Jacinto, Texas, the great state of Texas won its independence from Mexico. General Sam Houston launched a surprise attack against Santa Ana and routed their forces, and then ultimately was able to negotiate with Santa Ana for his freedom, the treaty that resulted in the founding of the Republic of Texas. I'm a proud Texan. I'm sitting here 185 years later, recognizing that my state, the state that I'm proud to represent, is under siege. It is under constant siege on a daily basis by dangerous cartels. But worse than being under siege by dangerous cartels, it is under siege by a Democrat president who refuses to do his constitutional duty to secure the border of the United States. That is the fact that this president, obligated under the Constitution, literally refuses to carry out and exercise his constitutional duty to defend our borders in Texas, where our communities are under siege, where our schools are overrun, where our hospitals are being inundated, where our ranches are having people cross them, where dangerous narcotics like fentanyl are pouring into our communities. This is what is happening to my state of Texas, the 185th anniversary of the battle at San Jacinto. One has to wonder whether the agreement that Texas made when entering this union remains worth it when the state of Texas is suggesting or the state of Texas under siege by an administration that refuses to defend our border.
I want to ask you if you're familiar with Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution.
I don't memorize everything, so read.
That's fine. I'm not asking you if you believe in independence right now or should we leave. What I'm asking you is whose decision is it? Is it we the people or is it the legislature?
You've asked me a question I've not been asked. You've asked me a question I've not researched. And so I will follow back. And
you have to research it?
Yeah,
I just read the Texas Constitution.
Ma'am, I understand. But there will be a legal opinion on that, and I don't know what that legal opinion is, and I would want to go to the Attorney General and find out what that really says and really means and what the intent is. Reading me something for the first time that I have not looked at, and you're asking me a question, and I'm happy to give you an answer and follow up and give you the answer.
In power, whether red or blue, I could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country before it's long gone. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Save your country before it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country before it's long gone. Texan arise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country before it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's Once time is a people in which all political power is inherent, and in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's me, Daniel Miller, and it is time for the weekly late night coffee talk. And so very glad you could join us. Look, I'm coffeeed up. I literally made the mad dash through that door to make sure this was full before we started. And you'll notice I'm not drinking out of a T&M cup tonight. I mean, is that slacking? I cannot. Hang on. Let me muster my best legislative jargon. I am not advised. All right, let's get started. First and foremost, thank you all for joining tonight. Gonna have some real interesting ones to unpack tonight. And especially thank you to all of you reporters, you journalists that are tuning in, hoping to get a scoop on something. Maybe you'll hang in till the end. Maybe you won't. I don't know. Maybe I'll say something. Maybe I won't. There's only one way to find out, and that's hang in till the very end. No, it's all fun and games, folks. All fun and games. Just trying to have a good time. All right, look, before I kick off, let me go through and remind everyone we're again broadcasting across all those same 11 outlets. If you are watching and joining us live on YouTube, I'm going to remind you to like this video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we go live and when we post new videos. And of course, as always, Super Chat is active. And I want to thank each and every one of you that week in, week out, use that Super Chat feature to make sure we've got money to keep this fight up. Texas independence is not going to happen without people like us putting money in and making things happen. I mean, I literally just saw the organization posted today. We have relaunched the billboard campaign specifically for the petition effort, brand new billboard faces, and those things are expensive. I guess it was Sunday, maybe it was Saturday night, having a conversation with some of our fine folks down there in the Rockport, Fulton, that area. We'll talk about that border awareness rally here in a bit, but staying with the fine folks down there who not only helped to organize it, but put us up in some phenomenal cabins right there on the beach. They've got a great place down there, but we were talking about billboards, and I think I was having the conversation with Wyatt Watson, who is one of our district directors, and shared with him some of the, how much it costs. People do not understand the cost of things. Billboards are super, super expensive, and we've just relaunched that campaign. Plus, we're getting ready to have to call our entire list to remind people that they've got to get their petition signatures in. I mean, there's just a lot going on. So for those of you that are, week in, week out, utilizing Super Chat to help support the organization, I cannot thank you enough. So yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to drop something in the super chat if you feel compelled to do so. We appreciate everything. And then again, if you are watching us on Facebook, absolutely be sure, if it is an available option, like you're watching on one of our Facebook pages, to like and share and comment. Liking it helps you see more of our posts in your feed. And of course, commenting the same. Anytime you engage with our posts, and finally sharing helps us spread the word, helps grow the viewership of this, and helps us get the message of Texas independence out to everyone. And of course, the same thing, over there on Twitter. Give us that old love, that heart, and give us a retweet when you get a chance. And man, at some point we're going to get that Instagram thing worked out. It's going to happen. It's just apparently not going to be this week. Not that it's not on the list. You ought to see the list. That's all I'm going to say. If you saw the list and you knew all the things that have to happen on the regular and things that we got to get done, you would understand why Instagram streaming my little weekly decompress over a cup of coffee is not the highest priority. Just saying. Okay, moving right along. Wow, let's talk about this week, right? This is as I said, my weekly decompress. So there's been an awful lot that happened. I think, if I remember correctly, where we last left off last week was I was headed to Fredericksburg to speak at a meeting of the Fredericksburg Tea Party. Absolute packed room. And look, I've got to extend my sincere thanks to Matt Long and the team over there at Fredericksburg Tea Party for inviting me out. And thanks to all the TNMers who showed up out there to help collect petition signatures, work the table, or just to show support. I cannot thank you enough. But it was a wonderful time. And as it has been indicative here lately with some of the events, you guys know when I speak, I do a Q&A at the end, right? I try to leave as much time for a Q&A as possible. Kind of ran up against it, had a short amount of time. And it was interesting because, and this has been something that I have seen happen as of late. Somebody got up, got the microphone, and there was no question. They just wanted to argue and kind of dump on me. It was fun, very similar to what happened at that meeting a few weeks back in Bulverde, where they opened it up for Q&A. There was a couple of legit questions, and then we had some lady get up from Convention of the States and want to have her filibuster, basically take over my time as her time, and then had one guy get up in the back of the room and he actually laid hands on one of our people, man, just jabbed him. I mean, when he was allegedly asking a question, it was so ridiculous. I had to say, I'm not hearing a question. So, what are you getting at? And, it was some of the most ridiculous nonsense you've ever seen. So, we're getting some of that here and there, and that's fine. I'm not going to shut down my Q&As because a couple of people don't have manners. Right. But by and large, the 99.99999% of the Fredericksburg event was just phenomenal. Like I said, Matt and those guys, they are doing some amazing things in Fredericksburg. And of course, that's home of Kyle Biederman. So, got to see Kyle, for those of you who don't know, the state rep who filed House Bill 1359, the Texas Independence Referendum Act. But I got to publicly thank him on behalf of the organization from the stage in front of his hometown crowd. And he had a massive standing ovation because he's that kind of guy. And I'll tell you, my wife, Kara, she made an observation. We had coffee with Kyle the next morning, and she made an observation to him that everyone that came to the T&M table at that event, they were saying, "Hey guys, you're so lucky to have Kyle Biederman as your state rep." And she said, to a person, they replied, "He's my friend." And I got that is a rarity. So you got that on one end of the spectrum, where you have on the other end a guy like Chairman of the State Affairs Committee, State Rep Chris Patty, who just got censured by the Harrison County Republican Party. They passed a resolution basically saying that, he's a do-nothing dirtbag. So, two ends of the spectrum right there. One guy listens to his people. They consider him a friend. And the other one, he couldn't cover himself in cow crap and draw flies. So what do you do, right? So anyway, yeah, that was Fredericksburg. Lovely, lovely time. And then, of course, the next big event that we had, the last big event that we had, I apologize. I have the internal chat open here for the T&M, and people are like sending me messages when they know good and well that every Wednesday night at 9:30, this is what I do. So maybe somebody should go in there and shoot a link into our Slack workspace and remind people, right? So I'm not getting this all time, right? So anyway, wound up Saturday burning it down to the Corpus Christi area, specifically Portland. On Sunday, we had a border. We participated. We were invited to a border awareness rally. It was organized by some, just a phenomenal group of folks down there, and it was meant to bring awareness for what's happening at the border to some of the other communities. And so I was excited, very enthusiastic to be able to address the crowd, talk about the solution, which is obviously in our mind Texas regaining its self-government, right? Becoming a self-governing independent nation, and therefore regaining control over our own immigration and border policy and putting a stop to this nonsense that's happening down there. I mean, it's bad. But that's going to bring me to my first thing here, right? Because down there, the sheriff of Goliad County spoke. And while he was there, he actually spoke some, but led off his remarks with a video that they produced explaining, trying to help people understand that the situation that's down on the border is not just on the border, and what some of the rest of the spillover is to other communities, and talking about how, what a difficult time his county is having. So what I wanted to do, because I went to him immediately, he spoke right before me. I had about this much time to visit with him. And I told him specifically, I said, look, I get flack when I talk about the situation on the border and how, the counties are not really getting any help and nothing's really happening. And I asked if I could play the video and schedule him on the broadcast at some point in the future. He handed me over the USB stick and said, call my office. So I'm going to play the video for you right now because I want you to see it as I saw it. And then when we come back, I'll decompress a little bit more. So give it just, I think it's maybe 4 or 5 minutes, something like that.
I've been involved in border security initiatives since 2005 and have written and overseen many border security operations for state, local, and federal agencies. In March, the body of Dina Gonzalez of Honduras was discovered here in Goliad, Texas. Her journey from Mexico to Goliad is typical of what we see today. In this feed shed, members of the Goliad County Sheriff's Office recovered 8 seats from trucks stolen throughout South Texas for the purposes of transporting illegal aliens from this location to the Houston region. It's also here where we found these wristbands, which you will see when we go to the Rio Grande. Migrants pay to be taken to and moved across the border and through Mexico. Near the northern border of Mexico, they're held by cartels in staging areas, waiting to cross the Rio Grande River, where they will have to pay more money to be allowed to cross. Once they are across the river and have illegally entered Texas, their journey is not over. Some have paid their debt to the cartel and are no longer of value to the transnational criminal organizations. These are the ones who turn themselves in. Others are brought across in areas where they are less likely to be captured by Border Patrol. These people will be held as slaves. We often encounter them in our local communities during pursuits and bailouts, and we're seeing an increase in this. I visited locations tied to criminal investigations in our community. I went to the car dealership in Brownsville that issued the paper plate that was found on a stolen truck from Houston that was recovered at an illegal alien staging site in Goliad. From there, I went to Mission.
3 days before her body was recovered in Goliad, Texas, Dina Gonzalez of Honduras was being kept in this safe house in Mission, Texas, just one of the many stops along the human trafficking smuggling route controlled by the cartels.
This visit prompted a letter from an attorney advising that he represents the residents in the house you just saw. From there, I went to Roma, Texas.
I am standing alongside the Rio Grande outside of Roma, Texas, where every evening cartel operatives bring hundreds of individuals across this river into the state of Texas, each one of them wearing one of these armbands. These armbands signify that they have paid and which raft they are to get on. Those individuals once on this side discard these armbands. There are literally thousands of them on the ground down here beneath Roma, Texas. Once they get here, they're either apprehended by Border Patrol, who they turn themselves into, and then they are taken to a processing center and then freed, where the cartel will continue them on their way in the next leg of their journey, or they get past Border Patrol, and from there they go to a safe house where the coyote stashes them, just like the one that Miss Gonzalez was placed in Mission, Texas. Those individuals are then passed on and transferred farther up the chain, eventually making it to their final destinations in the major cities of the United States, where many of them will be held in slavery until they can pay off their indebtedness. While the thought of the slave trade may be hard for many people to understand, or may be hard for some people to want to believe, and think that people are coming across on their own every day and just swimming across the river for a better life. That used to happen, but those days are over. The cartel controls that border right across that river, and as you can see, there are at least 100 various color armbands laying around behind me. This is just but a small spot on the Rio Grande River. Those armbands signify that those individuals had paid the cartel that is controlling the area where they cross. It signifies that they are to get on a specific raft. The logistics of this is phenomenal. The moving of humans into this country is a very organized thing. This is happening all up and down the border between Texas and Mexico. The individuals bringing these people across are well organized, well funded, and are making a lot of money off of these people. And when they get here, they're not free to leave. They are still captives. They don't just come over and get to enjoy the freedom that we as Americans have come to appreciate. They come here and they're put into indentured servitude. They are slaves within our own country. Nobody has the right to treat somebody this way. It is not right, and these individuals should be treated properly. It's a humanitarian crisis right here on the border. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's taking place here every single day.
From the valley, many illegal aliens will be brought to other staging areas, like this one in Goliad, where they will await other traffickers to pick them up and deliver them to Houston for their final distribution to their destinations and work assignment. Most illegals will work for many years to pay off their debts to their masters. This problem drains both time and resources from local, state, and federal law enforcement every day. Just look at the number of stolen trucks annually in Texas alone. Most are stolen for the transportation of illegals to and through our counties. While the media focus regarding the border crisis tends to be on the illegal immigrants themselves, they are but one part of the ongoing problem. First, we have the actors, cartels, who move, kidnap, extort, smuggle, and enslave many illegal aliens. The evil they perpetrate during their activities and the poison they spread throughout the world is often forgotten by those who want you to see this as a simple migration of free people. Next is the Mexican government, which works with the cartels, taking money, aiding cartels, and profiting from illegal drugs and smuggled humans. Then you have our federal government. Through their policies and lack of willingness to protect their own citizens, they have aided Mexico and their drug cartels in making billions of dollars a year, importing indentured servants into a hidden underclass in America. The most frequently overlooked are the ignored victims, Americans. Landowners in border states are victimized by the cartels, the illegal aliens, the Mexican government, and our own government. Many ranches in South Texas have been abandoned. Their owners have moved to town to keep their families safe. They can no longer let their children play in their own yards. Houses left unattended for short periods of time are ransacked. People feeding livestock are carjacked on their own ranches by cartel members with assault rifles. These are the real victims of this crisis, the ones marginalized by the media and their own government. They are the ones who are forgotten by their fellow citizens, who are not living the same nightmare they live every day. Something has to be done, or our way of life will be destroyed forever. Goliad County Sheriff's Office is following up on these investigations with the assistance of Homeland Security, state, and other local agencies. I have gone to the valley and visited sites specific to our investigation, not just as part of our investigation, but to send a message to traffickers that they cannot conduct their evil business in our community. I may not be able to stop their activities, especially when the federal government puts out the welcome mat and leaves the light on for them, but I can make you aware of what is happening.
Okay, so there it is, and the sheriff led off with that video, and he is obviously frustrated. You know, he's frustrated with the federal government. He's frustrated with the state government, and specifically what's happening up there in Austin with the governor and that smoke and mirrors about them doing something substantive for the border. It was there were things that were seen at that border awareness event that just will blow your mind, right? I mean, just the things that are happening down there. So when people tell you that there's no crisis, that there is no issue, that Governor Abbott is doing a great job and the legislature's doing a great job, understand that they don't know what they're talking about. They simply don't know. We saw images of everyday life that's taking place in some of those areas in those border areas, and it's ridiculous. I think even in my remarks, I made the statement that we were treated to images that looked like a destroyed third world country, and that was in Texas, and it's intolerable. When the power exists to do something about it here in Texas, and our elected officials here in Texas refuse to do something about it, then it is incumbent upon us to see that those people never hold any type of office ever again. It's time to send them home. Okay, so that being said, and there's a lot more I could talk about in relation to that, but I tell you what, I did happen to look over while the video was playing into the chat. Someone asked where you could find it. You can actually, if you go to YouTube and search for Goliad County Sheriff's Office, they have a YouTube channel, and that video is on their YouTube channel. So definitely go check it out. Go share it. We're going to upload it on our YouTube channel as well, because I think people need to see that. I mean, the sheriff is basically issuing a cry for help because none is forthcoming from the state government. So it was pretty doggone incredible. And he had and I'll tell you, the sheriff had plenty good to say about Brent Smith, the Kenny County District Attorney, who's on our advisory board, and the work that he's done to try to bring awareness to this situation. So it was definitely an eye-opening experience for the people that were there. And I'm just going to encourage you that if you see any of these border awareness rallies coming to your area, you need to go. You got to go. It was a phenomenal experience. Look, the first time I took a trip down to the border, it was in that time span of 2000, 2001, 2002. Right, I made about 7 specific relief trips down there to do support for ranchers and repair water lines and fences, and just run basic kind of, I mean, I wouldn't even call it security, but just be extra pairs of eyes. And I can tell you that the situation has not gotten any better. It's if anything, it's only gotten worse. And you heard the sheriff say it's because the federal government is enticing them. They're facilitating it. They are just as culpable as the cartels. in what's happening down there on the border, and probably more so. Okay. Let's I tell you what, let's do this. Let's go to the chat, right? You guys probably have plenty of Q&A. I'll stop my week there because Sunday was basically hurry up, drive home as soon as the event's over to get here ahead of what was predicted to be a hurricane or major tropical storm. And of course, we slid right in, got here, and then it happened, and some people got damaged. I really hope all of you that are out there listening are safe and were able to escape damage. And be sure that if you were fortunate like that, be sure to reach out and help your neighbors that were not as fortunate, because that's what we do right here in Texas. Correct? That's what we do. All right, so tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to, I will not spend the rest of the time. I got a couple things I want to talk about that are coming up, but I'm not going to spend the rest of the time going through the Q&A, but I figure if I start now, I can stay maybe a little bit ahead of the curve. So let me do that. And by the way, I totally forgot to say this ahead of time. If you have questions or anything you want to talk about, regardless of what platform you're on, if you comment, if you do the chat on YouTube, whatever it is, that all aggregates here into one chat feed. And I do my dead level best to scroll through and catch what I can. But so if I miss it, don't be offended. There's a lot, as you can imagine. But feel free to drop your questions in. I pretty much anything is on the table. Straight up, first question, will we have a Navy? Yes, I'm pretty sure that in independent Texas will have a Navy. Hello, Alvin. That is not your name, but where you're from. So hello. And thank you. Hey, there's a super chat. Thank you very much. Out of state for the week, but I can't wait to get back home. God bless Texas. Amen. Okay, scrolling through. Someone says, was going to attend a petition signing in Arlington this weekend and then head to the range to sight my rifle. Battery alternator went bad. Okay, that reminds me. Look, there are, I don't even know how many petition signing events that are happening this weekend. You got to go to tnm.me/events and find one. I worked through it last night, plotting them all on a map so I could see where everything was. And pretty much over the next, definitely next few days, but really over the next 2 weeks, there are events popping everywhere. Get out there and sign the dadgum petition. Look, drive, go find a spot, sign the petition. There is no excuse. All right. Hello for everyone joining. There's another super chat. Thank you, Viva. I'd rather cut off my right arm than live under tyranny. That's a quote from Colonel Philip Dimmitt, Goliad, Texas, 1835. It's funny. I spoke at an event a couple of years ago. Matter of fact, on the Texan Arise little photo montage, you'll see the picture there of me with Sid Miller and Sid holding up the Texas book. It was at that event in Gonzales. And so it was during I think it was right around the Come and Take It festival. I can't remember, but they had this event out at some facility. They got a big pavilion, and in the back, they had this massive Come and Take It flag. I mean, massive. And then on the other side, they had the Bloody Arm flag. And as a matter of fact, there's some pictures that were taken of that, and you'll see it. I think the organization uses them for stock photos all the time. But there's lots of pictures of me flying around in front of that flag. It was massive and impressive. Okay. Reality Check says, my fiance will be at the gun show in Bastrop this weekend with her petition. If y'all know anyone in our area that will sign. So you heard that. If you're in the Bastrop area, head out to the gun show in Bastrop and get your signature on the petition. Someone says Texas independence is a matter of life or death. I do not disagree. Okay, Viva says, okay, spoiler alert, put in chat, looking forward to seeing Daniel tomorrow at Brisket Love in Lindale, Texas. Correctamundo. Tomorrow night, and let me go over here to my roundup. Tomorrow night from 6 to 8 o'clock in Lindale, which is right outside of Tyler, I'll be speaking to a group at a place called Brisket Love. I mean, my God, the name alone, right? Brisket Love. Yes. You had me at hello. But I'm going to be there, and we're going to be talking Texas. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be rah-rahing the troops and firing folks up, and big kudos to District Director Ryan McCubbin and our local coordinator out there, Christina Drury, for putting this event together. I am thinking that it is going to be a packed house. I don't know how big the place is, but I hope they have the room. So make sure you can make sure you go out there and do that, and head over to the website, look at the event, make sure you RSVP. Okay, let's go through here. Let's see what kind of, hey, there we go. Donna, rock and roll. Thank you for the super chat and the $25 donation. She says, we are on a roll making Texas free. Roll on, Texians. Amen. We're on a roll. This is what we're doing. And it ain't over yet. It's about to get super exciting. Okay. And Tex, hey, thank you very much for the super chat as well, man. And sorry for your car trouble. But you know what? You'll make one of the events. I got a feeling. And hello, Bryan College Station. So glad you could join us. There is a meetup. I think actually a petition signing event in College Station coming up Saturday. And hey, William says, great talk in Portland, Texas. Thanks for coming down anytime. William, I had the absolute best time. It was phenomenal. And you guys were just some of the nicest people. And Will, hello, Corio County. And Stephen, thank you so much for your super chat. Man, that's a penny shy of a C note. And I'm going to tell you what, that is going to help. Our billboard run on this go around is, see if I can remember the calculation. I think it's like 245, 255, something like that per day. Right. And that's, I think it's, God, I can't remember how many cities. It's like 120 separate faces, right? Because we're rolling digital. And I mean, it's 70 cities, 30 cities. I don't know. I have to go look at the numbers, but I mean, that's it. The ad run is about 200 and say 250, about 250 a day. So that's going to help us out, man. It's like almost half a day there, and we appreciate it. Howdy, Conroe. So glad you could join us. And Dean, thank you very much for your $50 super chat. He says, Texas is our only path to true freedom and liberty. And the congregation said, amen. Because anybody who thinks you can get in there and fix the federal government is just not paying attention. They're just not paying attention. Coffee. Now talk. That's how it works. Late night coffee talk. Even though this is not late for me. Okay. Guys, if literally when you talk about me like that, you know, I mean, it's nice, but I can see it, and it makes me blush. Okay. Cynthia says, I will be collecting signatures on the 18th in Conroe and in Montgomery. Hoping we have a great turnout across Texas. Cynthia, thank you so much for being a petition circulator, and thanks for having you participating in those events. You heard her, Conroe and Montgomery. Get over there, and those are on the event calendar, tnm.me/events. Get out there and get it done. Dean says petition signing events in Temple, Fredericksburg, and Kerrville on the 18th as well. Guys, there's a lot. Okay, so I've gotten down to the part where you guys are chiming in about Chris Patty. Man, I'm going to tell you what. As badly as he treated our people over House Bill 1359, and now to see him cry and whine because his local Republican Party doesn't think he did a good job, you know, honestly, I kind of feel good about that. Seeing him whine and cry. Okay. Rolling down through here. Nathan says you should reach out to Tim Pool, see if you can get on the Timcast. look, those guys respond to viewer feedback, reaching out from us. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are trying to get booked, but what they do is they react to viewer feedback or listener feedback. And, there's no truer tale of this than what happened with the Tom Woods interview. You guys, I think, worked on Tom Woods for 4 years or 3 years or whatever it was to get me on his show. So that all was a result of people that subscribe and listen to his podcast saying, interview Daniel Miller. So you're the best people to make that happen. Okay, let's look here. Yeah, so someone is responding to my comment about that video from the Goliad County Sheriff's Office. And yes, if you search for it on YouTube, you will find their channel, and that video is there. I verified before I went live. And the doc sends 5. Thank you very much. It says, funny news, you're in a mod called Make America Again for a video game called Hearts of Iron 4. You're one of the leaders of Texas in the game. My God, I'm in a video game now. That's frightening. That's hilarious. And thank you for your contribution there, Doc. I appreciate it. And Keith, thank you for signing the petition in El Paso. That we appreciate that. Okay, and Daniel, thank you very much for your $5 super chat. Texas first, Texas forever. Amen. Okay, yep. Richard found the video, so that's great. Oh, and let me remind you guys really quickly, because I know I talked about this. We have got, and Elliot, yes. Okay, Elliot, you're spoiler alert. I was getting ready to get to that, but let me remind everyone right now. I'm going to ask you, and I mentioned this a couple times before. I have got a separate YouTube channel from the TNM's YouTube channel. And if you get an opportunity, please go over and give it a subscribe. And you'll see it, the username, because I haven't been able to, because I really just launched it, right? They carried over my old username from Google Plus, which is kind of irritating. So once I get the subscriber count to where it needs to be, I'll be able to change the slug for it. So it's not going to be at my usual, the Texian DM, at least not yet. But it's at Daniel Miller TX. So if you go over there to YouTube and subscribe there, I sure would appreciate it. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me get over to what Elliot said. It's spoiler alert. You guys may have seen that I shared a tweet from the Liberty Block. It's a program that I've been on more than one occasion with Elliot Axelman. As a matter of fact, that's where I met Daniel Rice and Elliot's dad, Stephen, and those guys. Liberty Block, phenomenal group of folks. And of course, Elliot is there in New Hampshire, home of Polly's Pancakes, where you can get maple sriracha. I didn't know such a thing existed until I went there. But that being said, if you will recall, some time back, Nate Smith and I made the trip to New Hampshire to Pork Fest, right? Not the kind of pork that bacon comes from, because that's the really good kind. But pork is in Porcupine, right? It's a big festival they have every year, Libertarian Festival. And there was a panel discussion that was organized by Stephen Axelman, specifically related to bringing people, from different independence movements together. And we were there. The Cal Exit guys, Marcus Ruiz Evans, was there via Zoom video. There were representatives from New Hampshire, including Elliot Axelman. So as soon as we left, there was some serious work done, because the news broke today or yesterday that one of the state reps in the legislature up there, or assembly, I forget which one you guys have. Elliot, correct me, whichever one. They filed legislation, was effectively a constitutional amendment for the purpose of withdrawing New Hampshire from the Union. They're running the Kyle Biederman play, right? Legislator files the legislation. Let's start having the conversation about whether or not the state should stay in the Union or not. And man, oh man, I mean, boom, firestorm. I mean, the news is everywhere. And I know, Elliot, that you were, I mean, you either single-handedly made it happen or were a major part of it. I don't know, because you and I haven't had a chance to visit about it, but congratulations to you and the rest of the team over there in New Hampshire for absolutely lighting that fire and that conversation. It has been wonderful. Now I will tell you this. Funny thing happened on Twitter. Someone went over, and of course the TNM tweeted the news, and someone replied, "Come on, TNM, get your act together." You know, basically, you got to TNM, step up your game. And so I had to go to the news archives on our website and go all the way back to the opening of the Texas legislative session where Biedermann's filing became official, and send that link and be like, really? We need to step up our game? Really? So anyway, Elliot, what we probably need to do, and you and I can talk about this offline, but what you and I probably need to do is do a virtual panel just like we did up there at PorkFest. Get you on, get Steven on, get Marcus Ruiz Evans. Let's grab some of the other folks from the other states, and let's do an online panel discussion one night. Stream it live. We're literally making a deal right here on a live stream, folks. How great is that? So anyway, you know how to get a hold of me. Drop me a note. Let's make that happen. So congratulations. It says they're looking for a 6th co-sponsor, so that's fantastic. Okay, so Texas Rose says, when will the first Songs for Texas Independence album drop? Talk to Nate. That's a Nate Smith question, not a Daniel Miller question, because I've heard them all. I literally, he sent them to me on my computer, and I will say this: Nate's rendition of "Texas Our Texas" is probably one of the best, if not the best, that I have ever heard. And then, of course, we kick off the show with Texan Arise a lot. And he's got some other great ones on there that are very Texas-centric and Texas-centric. So, all I can do is tell you to hound him. Wear him out. He's the guy with the guitar and the album that's sitting in the can that needs to be released. Okay. Hey, Ronnie. Ronnie's in Alabama. He says, Alabama in the house. Love your show. It doesn't feel like a show. Am I putting on a show, or are we just having coffee and a discussion? Okay. Rolling right along. Okay, Lisa wants to know. It's a good question. Lisa says, and I'm sorry for the silence, but I mean, there's some chat, and I got to read through this, and I could speed read, but apparently this machine will not speed scroll. So it's crazy. Lisa says, can you give a quick step-by-step of what happens after the spring vote? Okay. So what Lisa's talking about is, what the petition campaign is leading up to. Let me reposition in my chair because I've got to have this conversation. And one moment, because my internal chat is still blowing up, because sometimes people don't understand live means live. What do you do? Okay, so what Lisa's referring to is sort of the end game for the petition. And actually, Nate and I covered this in a Q&A that happened after we made the announcement for the petition, right? So when we announced that the petition campaign was happening publicly, then there was a Q&A that we had after for members to participate, and then we actually have the video of that. I think it's on a news article that came out right around that time. So here's a refresher, right? Because I think it's important that we all put this into context. And first and foremost, what I'm going to tell you right now, This is not top secret. This is not classified. We literally have said what we are going to do right out of the gate, like every step of the way. And the reason being is because there's not a lot the opposition can do to derail the plans. And we're not trying to keep any of this secret. You know, we basically want them to know the direction from whence their destruction came. Okay. So let me roll back the clock, because it's not so much what happens after the spring, you know, after the vote, as much as the context around it and how it fits into our strategy moving forward. So at the beginning of the legislative session, when we announced that Biedermann was filing the bill and that our litmus test for state legislators was going to be whether or not they signed on to the bill, right? We were not going to follow the normal kind of shell game that they do, where they play parliamentary tactics so they don't have to take a vote on it. Then they say, well, if it had made it farther in the process, I would have been for it or against it, depending on the crowd they talk to. We said specifically, our only litmus test was going to be whether or not they signed on to the piece of legislation. And it was at that time that I made the promise that anyone that did not sign on to that piece of legislation, we were going to recruit a challenger to challenge them either in the primaries or the general election. Okay. Because it's not party specific for us, right? Dirt bags exist with R's and D's behind their names. People that do not listen to their constituents but hold elected office are dirtbags. Okay, that's just the way it works. Some would not even give their ear. Look, I will take it. I can accept it if they hear it out. They have a legitimate fundamental disagreement and say, look, I can't be on board with this. But to treat our people like garbage is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And the way that they treated our people. So we immediately started the process of looking up, looking for candidates. As a matter of fact, you can see this. Let me find it here. Boom. There's the link. Thank you. There's the link to our effort, right? Where we started the process of recruiting candidates. And that link is still live. If you don't like how you're being represented, go to tnm.me/run-for-office, and odds are we're looking for you, right? We want you to run for state rep or state senate. We want that to happen. We want guys like Chris Patty and Travis Carter and these guys to have challengers. And don't worry about the rest of it. Just understand that filing to run for office is that first step, or at least indicating your interest to us. Okay. So we made that known and we started the process. So then in June, when we launched the petition effort, June or July, I can't remember. It was hot. I was hot. So one of those two. When we launched the petition effort, we, and you guys, I'm not going to go into everything related to the petition. If you want to know more about it, go watch previous episodes of this or go to tnm.me/petition, which is there, and you can find out more about it. But what that amounted to was effectively a squeeze play, right? A pincer movement where we're coming at it from both sides. So the thought process behind putting, basically getting the petition campaign done and putting the Texas question on the primary ballot was to do really a couple different things. The first thing was to give the people of Texas a vote on the issue on a legitimate ballot, right? Where they could go to a polling place, find the question, and vote for it, okay? Something the legislature denied. And I even talked about this at the time, right? We all understand what the vote for 1359 did. It was not a true in or out vote. 1359 started a process. It said, here's the political will of the people of Texas, and now the people of Texas have spoken in that vote, then form the committee that makes it all happen, that works out all the details to get all those things, all those questions answered. Here's all the details. Here's a detailed plan on the constitutional, the statutory issues, the negotiated issues, the transitional issues. Here's the plan. And I know because I wrote that section of the legislation. Okay. So in effect, this vote in March is just as binding as that, except that it has a completely different effect that the 1359 vote would not have had. You see, the vote in 1359 would have been held this November, which is the constitutional amendment elections, right? And so its political impact would have been isolated essentially to whatever happened in that constitutional amendment election and then the fallout from what that vote is. Well, you see, now we've got an opportunity with this petition campaign coupled with the candidate recruitment effort to do something. It's a once in a generation opportunity. And it frankly was a lesson learned from what happened with the Brexit campaign. So imagine this, and I say this at some of many of the speaking events that I've been going to and speaking, but imagine this. So March comes along, if we have it in March, right? Because there's some doubt as to whether we'll even be able to have maps in enough time to have a March primary. But let's just say it's March, and Texas voters have the opportunity to go vote and express their will, their political will, on the issue of Texas. The exact question that would be on the ballot would be, should the state of Texas reassert its status as an independent nation? Okay, so that's the question. So you can imagine that you're not going to have your normal primary election turnout. You're probably going to get 2 to 2.5 times, if not more, turnout in the primary than you're used to. Well, that's interesting because you know that it won't be candidates that are driving that turnout. What will it be? It will be the Texas question. So you know that the primaries will be packed with pro-Texas voters. But you see, we run into a situation where the same place the UK went into when they had their Brexit vote, right? They had their Brexit vote. They voted to leave. The problem is they still had the same cadre of bureaucrats in office that didn't want to leave. So they dragged their feet. Okay. So the scenario that we are in the process of creating, this once in a generation scenario, we're in a redistricting year, right? So new maps, districts are going to be changed. That has a tendency to favor challengers, right? So it makes the incumbents weaker. We have challenges at the top of the ballot, right? Where Greg Abbott has got 3+ solid challengers in the primary. So he doesn't have his political machine that he can loan out to everybody and their dog during the primaries. And he doesn't have that kind of money to spend on everyone else. We cross the finish line on the petition. We have the Texas question on the ballot, which drives numbers up for turnout, right? To numbers that political consultants, it will completely blow their calculations and their projections just because that question's on the ballot. And now with this massive glut of pro-Texas voters in the primaries, not only do they have an opportunity to vote on the Texas question, but they have pro-Texas candidates that they can vote for. So massive number of Texans come in, mostly pro-Texas voters voting on the Texas question, and they keep spinning that wheel, and there's a state Senate candidate that they can vote for and a state rep candidate they can vote for. Those are numbers that can't be accounted. So what happens then? Well, it's our once in a generation opportunity to flip the table, right? To completely change the face of Texas politics in one cycle. One cycle. Literally one election. We can do it. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make this happen. So the question is, what happens post that vote? Well, I think it all really matters as to what the total outcome is, not just the outcome of the Texas vote, but the outcome of flipping the table, right? Of routing out these anti-Texas incumbents that don't deserve to be there, that don't listen to their constituents. Just by having the question on the ballot, every candidate will be forced to take a position on it, period. Every candidate, incumbent or not, will be forced to take a public position. The vote comes back massively in the affirmative. It represents an expression of political will on the issue of Texas withdrawing from the Union. So what you have the opportunity to do is, by this entire strategy, not only drive the public policy on the Texas issue moving forward, because don't forget, the governor could still call a special session between the primaries and the start of the next legislative session, right? But you have the opportunity to drive the public policy discussion and really public policy action on the Texas issue by the results of this one election. And don't think that ends at the general, right? That it ends at the primary and we can forget about the general. We're talking about the next step being this win, this victory in the primaries, the flipping of the table, defeating the anti-Texas people in the general, and then seating a pro-Texas government in Austin in the next session. That's what we're talking about. So what happens? Well, what happens after that spring vote doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until we get the vote, and we get the vote by getting the petition across the finish line, and we win the vote by going out and running the ground game exactly like we're doing. But also, it's not just about winning that Texas vote in the primaries. It's about winning all of these races, or as many of them as possible, to give people who love Texas, pro-Texas people, actual representation in state government that we have not had. We've been besieged by the Chris Patties of the world and the Jeff Leaches of the world, right? And the Travis Clartys of the world. Those are the people that are holding us back, the Greg Abbotts of the world, the Dan Patricks of the world. And we could go win this at the ballot box. We could go put the Texas question on the primary ballot, and we could win it 99% to 1%. And if we still have these people digging their heels in seats of power in Austin, it will not matter. So this is a big play. This is the big strategy. And it all has to work. We cannot sit, none of us can sit comfortably by and just say, well, we'll just see what happens. Oh, well, I can't drive 15 minutes to sign a petition. Somebody else will just sign. It'll be fine. No, that's not how you win. That's not how you win. You don't win by sitting on your butt and letting everybody else do the work. We have a shot. This cannot be overstated. We have a once in a generation opportunity to take our government back right here in Texas, to take it back and take us to independence. And none of us, not a person, can afford to squander this opportunity. Take it from a guy who's been at this for 25 years. Take the shot. Take the opportunity. Move heaven and earth to get this done. I cannot do it alone. If I could, it would have already been done a long time ago. But together, we can do it if each of us pulls our weight. And it's going to force some of us to have to do some uncomfortable things. Things we didn't really want to have to do or didn't know how to do. Guilty. That's the position I'm in right now. Having to do things I never really wanted to do, but doing them because it's right, because the time is right, and because Texas independence depends on what we do right here and right now. I am not going to go look at my kids, my grandkids, and those future generations, if I last that long, and have to explain to them why they're living in a neo-Marxist nightmare because I thought that, because driving 10 minutes to put my name on a piece of paper was just too inconvenient. That ain't going to be me. So, context. It's not just a kind of, well, this happens and then this next thing happens and this next thing happens. This is a very bold strategy that we're running. It is high risk and high reward. And I got to tell you, the reward is 100% worth it because it means we win. We win. And I want to win. I don't know about y'all, but I want to win. Lisa, that wasn't quick. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm almost out of time. Oh, well, I'm totally out of time. But you know what? Because I went long on that, I'm going to go back into the chat and see if there is yes, somebody says online, you cannot sign this petition online. I literally had our social media guy cut out the part of my video from last week and share it on social. You cannot, this is not an online petition. This is a legal petition under the Texas Election Code, right? Which means paper, pen, certified petition circulator, go find one, go sign the petition. Someone says might need to think of doing an event or two in some smaller local areas like Vidor or Orange. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because as this is happening, I'm sitting in Nederland right now. And we need some organized. I don't know. Maybe I saw one in Orange. I don't know. Go look at the events page. It's probably on there. If it's not, we're going to get one done. Yes, someone says anyone could go online right now and take the CPC course and collect signatures. We've got certified petition circulators rolling in right now. So go over there, sign up to be a CPC, go to, boom, that link right there, and sign up to collect signatures. We need all the help we can get. And yes, Bobby, thank you for reminding everyone. Be sure, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you get those notifications. And thank you to everyone who has sent in a super chat so far. Okay. Alessandro, hey, thank you very much for your super chat. I do appreciate that. It says, after the tyrant told me I couldn't serve my country and great state of Texas without bowing down and injecting myself, I've decided I'm all in. Look forward to shaking hands, Mr. Miller. Look forward to shaking your hand as well. And welcome to the team. Oh my God, somebody literally asked about someone asked about Social Security. I always get the Social Security question. Hey, and there's my good friend from high school. Like literally one of my absolute best friends from high school just popped on here. And yes, you have to try the maple sriracha. It is insidiously good. Okay, I am scrolling. Yes, oh my God, you guys. And I said I wasn't going to get behind on these questions, but I am totally behind. So I don't know. Let's see what we can find here. Yep. I am working, folks. Let me see if I can grab another question. Yeah, Viva says this. He says, Representative Matt Schaefer looked me in the eye and said he didn't want a vote on Texas. Charles Turner is running against him and is a strong Texas supporter. Absolutely. Matt, super good guy, but he's on the wrong side of this one and not going to, and I know how many calls went into Schaefer's office. And so, if you're not gonna be like the other good guys and listen to your constituents on this issue, then boom, I don't care how nice of a guy you are. I could not possibly care less how nice of a guy you are, because if you stand against the people having a vote on Texas, then you are in violation of Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution, and you can pound sand. Okay. Rolling down through. Eric, so glad you could join, man. That's a blast from the past. You need to call me. Seriously. Okay, so I am scrolling and I am so out of time, folks. I do this and I got this fresh cup of coffee and a very, I am. Jacob says I'm coming in hot tonight. Dude, I come in hot all the time. When have you ever seen me in person or on here with low energy, right? When? It doesn't happen. Yes, and I am coming in hot because this is serious business. And Lisa, you are most welcome. So glad to have you on the team, by the way. Man, you guys are phenomenal. So look, there's a ton in chat, and I'm just not going to be able to get to it tonight. But let me as I get ready to wrap up, let me go ahead and throw this out there. Just a reminder, I will be in Lindale tomorrow night speaking at Brisket Love. As a matter of fact, I will also be in my hometown of White Oak on Saturday. Some of our CPCs and volunteers are going to be there, set up at Roughneck Days, and they're going to be collecting signatures out there. And I'm not sure exactly what time I'm going to be out there with them, but I'm going to come out there, hang with the troops for a while, and be there in the hometown because it's homecoming. Our hometown only has homecoming every 3 years. I know I've mentioned that, but I'm pretty doggone excited. Get to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in a very long time. So, again, before, man, I had so much I wanted to cover tonight. Sometimes an hour is just not enough. And I know that I'm leaving some Snoopy reporters a little disappointed because I'm not saying a word. Yes, I filed a campaign treasurer appointment. Yes, I left the office sought blank. Yes, I will be announcing something very soon, but it ain't going to be tonight. It's just not ready. But trust me, when the balloon goes up and the announcement is getting ready to be made, everybody and their dog will know. You will all be invited. But make sure you head over to my website at danielomiller.com. Sign up for my email list. And of course, if you're already on the TNM email list, you'll get notified about it too. But something is imminent. Something is coming. So be ready. I would say save the date, but I'm not even sure what date at this point. Okay, wrapping up, a big thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight and join me for my evening cup of coffee. I wonder if anybody has guessed what this cup is. It's that one I got from the Museum of the American GI up there in College Station. I love that place. Love, love, love it. Can't say it enough. If you're in the Lindale area, join us tomorrow night. And, of course, what's going on Saturday. But, look, even if you're not, absolutely go to the events calendar right now. Go to tnm.me/events. Find a petition signing event or meetup near you. RSVP. Get there. Get plugged in. Sign the petition. Become a volunteer. Become a CPC. Help us collect signatures. If I mentioned earlier, if you want to donate, go do that on the petition page or donate to the billboards. Look, there is every way in the world for you to get involved in this fight. We make it easy to get in where you can fit in. Go to the volunteer page. Lots of volunteer positions up for grabs right now. Tons. We're always on the lookout for folks that want to spend some time and talent to help move this ball down the field. And we've got a major task ahead of us. So, pick your poison, right? Run for office, collect petition signatures, become a volunteer, make a donation. If you are not a member, become a member of the TNM. We need members. We need as many as we can get. If nothing else, just open your mouth and tell people that there is a movement out here trying to make freedom and independence a reality for Texas. I mean, that doesn't cost you a dime. Just costs you a little bit of air across your vocal cords. So let's make it happen. All right. Tonight I'm going to leave you with the words of Sam Houston, who said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.